The story began at an ordinary elementary school 50 years ago. A simple art activity about the future completely changed a girl named Lucinda's life. While all the other children were drawing their dreams of the future, Lucinda did something completely different. She kept writing a long series of mysterious numbers on her paper. Nobody knew what those numbers meant. Even the teacher thought it was just a strange piece of work from a child. The teacher kept asking Lucinda what she was writing, but the girl never answered. She only lowered her head and continued writing down the numbers. As the activity was about to end, the teacher had no choice but to collect her paper. That day, the school was holding a special anniversary celebration. According to the plan, every student's artwork would be placed inside a time capsule. 50 years later, future students would open it and discover the works from the past. And the envelope filled with mysterious numbers happened to fall into Caleb's hands. Caleb had no idea what these numbers meant, but after taking the paper, strange things started happening around him. He began hearing unusual sounds through his hearing device. At the same time, he started seeing mysterious figures dressed in black. That night, after returning home, Caleb told his father John that something seemed wrong with his hearing device, but John didn't take it seriously at first. Instead, he noticed the old school artwork in Caleb's hand. John questioned why Caleb brought something from school back home. He told him to return the paper to the teacher the next day. Later that night, John saw Caleb watching videos of his mother Diana before she passed away. John stopped and looked at the screen. Years ago, a tragic fire had taken Diana's life. That event had always affected John and Caleb. Trying to calm himself down, John picked up a drink. While looking for some paper in the kitchen, he accidentally placed the cup on top of the page filled with numbers. As a professor at MIT, John had always been highly sensitive to numbers and data. When he noticed that the water stain had highlighted several unusual number combinations, he became curious. Why would a child write down such complicated numbers 50 years ago? John took a marker and wrote one group of numbers on the board. Then he started separating them, trying to discover the hidden pattern. To confirm his theory, John began searching for major events from the past. Soon, he found a result that shocked him. The numbers matched the 9/11 event, according to records. 2,996 people lost their lives during that event, and the numbers on the paper seemed to represent the date and the number of victims. This meant Lucinda had recorded a future event 50 years earlier. John immediately started checking the rest of the numbers. He organized every number from the paper and searched them. One by one, the result was unbelievable. Many major disasters from the past 50 years had been recorded on that same page. The dates matched, the numbers matched. There was no mistake. This was not just a simple list of data. For Lucinda, who wrote these numbers 50 years ago, it was like a record left behind from the future. The next day, John went to the observatory and showed his discovery to his colleagues. After listening to his explanation, they could not fully explain the numbers either. However, they still questioned his conclusion, because there were 3 numbers on the paper that had not happened yet. John believed those events would eventually happen. He believed that finding the meaning behind the remaining numbers would prove his theory. So he took the mysterious page and went to find the person who witnessed everything 50 years ago. Taylor, the teacher who had seen Lucinda's strange behavior back then. Taylor was already old, but when he saw the page covered with numbers again, he immediately remembered Lucinda. In Taylor's memory, the school was celebrating its anniversary that day. All the students were taking part in the event. During the celebration, Lucinda suddenly released the balloon in her hand. Then she walked away from the crowd and disappeared from the teacher's sight. After realizing Lucinda was missing, the teachers immediately started searching the entire school. They checked every corner, hoping to find her as soon as possible. Eventually, Taylor heard strange noises near the gym. Following the sound, he finally found Lucinda inside a storage locker. After hearing the story, John asked where Lucinda lived now, but Taylor gave him an unexpected answer. Lucinda had already passed away. After learning this, John returned home and continued investigating. He began using his connections to search for the workers who buried the time capsule 50 years ago. Meanwhile, Caleb was outside playing by himself. Suddenly, he heard the strange whispering sound again. It was as if something was guiding him. Slowly, Caleb walked toward the side of the road. A mysterious person was waiting inside a parked car nearby. The person said nothing. He only handed Caleb a black stone. At that moment, John was making a phone call nearby. When he saw what happened, he immediately rushed outside, but the mysterious person quickly drove away without stopping. John checked Caleb and found that his son was not hurt. The only thing he received was an ordinary-looking black stone. So John did not think too much about it. He only reminded Caleb not to accept things from strangers. That night, John stayed in front of the television, according to the numbers. Another disaster was supposed to happen after that day. The predicted number of victims was 81. Although John had already confirmed several accurate predictions, he still could not be completely sure that the future could truly be predicted. He wanted to know what these numbers really meant. However, as time passed, nothing happened. No major accident appeared on the news. No unusual reports came from the radio. The entire night went by quietly. The next morning, John received a call from Caleb. Only then did he remember that he needed to pick his son up from school because of the bad weather. Heavy traffic blocked the road. While waiting, John called his colleague. He told him that nothing had happened so far. Neither the news nor the radio reported any disaster. This made John start wondering if his colleague had been right. Maybe these numbers were not as mysterious as he thought. At that moment, John accidentally looked at the navigation system in his car. Suddenly, an idea appeared in his mind. He quickly took out the paper and checked the numbers again. Then he discovered something important. The numbers that were not marked were not random at all. They represented location coordinates, and the location of today's predicted disaster was exactly where he was stuck in traffic. Realizing this, John immediately got out of the car. He wanted to see if something serious had happened ahead. After walking for a while, he noticed emergency workers in the distance. At first glance, it did not look like a major accident, but soon, John realized something was terribly wrong. This was not an ordinary traffic accident. A plane had crashed at that location. The entire area was in chaos. Everyone around was shocked by what they were seeing. John did not stop. He quickly ran toward the crash site. There, he saw many injured passengers around the wreckage. The flames covered the damaged aircraft. Desperate cries could be heard everywhere. Standing in front of the scene, John did not know where to begin. He had known the disaster was coming, but knowing the future did not mean he could change it. John watched helplessly as the rescue teams worked around the crash site. The number of victims was slowly approaching the number written on the paper. That meant the prediction was becoming reality step by step. The most frightening part was that John already knew what would happen, but he still could not change the outcome. That night, John returned home. Caleb and the family were waiting for him. At that moment, the television started reporting the latest updates about the plane crash. The final number of victims was confirmed, 81 people. When John heard that number, he became silent, because it was exactly the number written on the mysterious paper. This proved that the page left behind 50 years ago was not just predicting the future. It was as if some unknown force had already written everything that was going to happen. John began thinking about a more difficult question. If someone could know the exact time and location of a disaster, but could never change the final result, then what was the purpose of knowing the future? A few hours later, John's colleague came to visit him after learning what happened. At this point, even he had to admit that these numbers contained a pattern that could not be explained. However, according to the paper, there were still 2 more disasters waiting to happen, and what happened next would force John to face an even bigger mystery. As an ordinary person, John knew very well that he did not have the ability to stop a large-scale disaster. While he was discussing the numbers with his colleague, something strange happened upstairs. Caleb suddenly saw the mysterious figure inside his room. The person did not say anything. Instead, he guided Caleb toward the window. Through the glass, Caleb saw a terrifying scene. The entire sky was covered by flames, the ground below was burning, animals were running through the destroyed land, trying to escape. It looked like the end of the world had arrived early. Caleb was completely frightened by what he saw, but John thought his son was only having a nightmare. He quickly went upstairs to comfort him. However, at that moment, John also saw the mysterious figure outside the window.